So it seems like one of the arguments that the FTC has used in order to go ahead and sue Microsoft for the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal is not true. All right, guys, if you're new here, you like daily gaming news videos, you're in the right spot, so hit that subscribe button. So as we know, the FTC has sued Microsoft. They are going to go ahead and try to block this deal. They're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to fight over it. And from everything that we've seen and heard so far, the case against Microsoft and Xbox doesn't seem that strong. At least in my opinion, it doesn't seem that strong from the public records that we have seen, from PlayStation's arguments, from Xbox's arguments, from just kind of understanding the video game industry and stuff. It just really doesn't seem like it's that strong of an argument. And one of the main things that the FTC used in order to go ahead with suing Microsoft and to justify their decision was that they said to the EU with the ZeniMax deal that they were not going to take games off of other platforms, and then they went ahead and did that with games like Starfield. And now we have this, and this is kind of confusing. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people are saying. I don't think the FTC actually went out and lied about this with this accusation, but it is a little bit misleading. It isn't 100% what people are making it out to be. So we have this here. Open it up in new tab. This comes from Reset Era, and MLEX who reached out to the EU. And they say this: Microsoft didn't mislead EU over ZeniMax deal. Watch Dogs says in response to the US concerns, Microsoft didn't make any commitments to the EU regulators not to release Xbox exclusive content following its takeover of ZeniMax Media, the European Commission has said. US enforcers yesterday suggested the US tech giant had misled the regulator in 2021 and cited that as a reason to challenge its proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The commission cleared the Microsoft ZeniMax transaction unconditionally as it concluded the transaction would not raise competition concerns. The absence of competition concerns did not rely on any statements made by Microsoft about the future distribution strategy concerning ZeniMax games. The EU agency found that even if Microsoft were to restrict access to ZeniMax titles, it wouldn't have significant impact on competition because rivals wouldn't be denied access to an essential input, and other consoles will still have a large array of attractive content. So as we know, this is one of the big arguments when it comes to Activision Blizzard. Xbox is going to be able to restrict these games that they are going to be acquiring from other platforms, something that we know they've already said that they do not plan on doing, at least specifically with Call of Duty, which is the major one, making a 10-year deal with Nintendo. It's coming out and saying they're going to continue to release the games on Steam, trying to make a deal with Sony, but they aren't coming to the table. So that argument alone that continuously is brought up, Xbox has numerous times, in my opinion, tried to explain that that is not what they are going to try and do. Now, the FTC used this as them making the same promises about the Bethesda deal and then going back on those deals, which I agree, they never did that. If you ever listen to what Xbox said, they essentially just said those legacy games are staying on other platforms like Elder Scrolls Online. The new games are going to be wherever Xbox is, like Starfield, which is going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. And people are coming out here and saying that the FTC lied, the FTC misled people, that the EU never said anything to the FTC. They never were misled by Xbox, so it's not really an argument that can be used. And we go down here, and we have Hogue Law, who actually weighed in on this as well. And he says this: so I have been critical of the FTC's overall thesis of the Microsoft case. I think it's only fair when I point out and I think things are not quite as dire as some are reporting. In short, I think the FTC lied about the EU is a bit misleading. Here's what the FTC relies on in its complaint for the proposition, paraphrase, that Microsoft is not to be trusted. And this is what the FTC put forward as a reasoning as to why they want to block this deal. He says here, Microsoft's past conduct provides a preview of the combined firm's likely plans if it consummates the proposed acquisition. Despite any assurances the company may offer regarding its plans, in March 2021, Microsoft acquired ZeniMax Media, the parent company of the well-known game developer and publisher Bethesda Softworks. Microsoft assured the European Commission during its antitrust review of the ZeniMax purchase that Microsoft would not have the incentive to withhold ZeniMax titles from rival consoles. But shortly after the European Commission cleared the transaction, Microsoft made public its decision to make several of the newly acquired ZeniMax titles, including Starfield, Redfall, and Elder Scrolls 6 Microsoft exclusive. And then Hoeglaw continues on here saying, so the basics there are that Microsoft assured the EU would have no incentive to make ZeniMax titles exclusive, and then Microsoft did so anyway. The MLEX statement everyone is reporting includes most pertinently that Microsoft didn't make any commitments to the EU regulators not to release Xbox exclusive content, but that's a separate question, and both the FTC and EU say in these two places can be true at the same time. Microsoft does look to have assured the EU that there was no incentive to make exclusive. And then we have this, and it says here that Microsoft's strategy regarding ZeniMax games, therefore, according to the notifying party, Microsoft would not have the incentive to seize or limit making ZeniMax games available for purchase on rival consoles. And then Hoeglaw continues saying, now there is some wiggle room here. The EC could be summarizing incorrectly, as Microsoft has shown other times when they said it would be case by case. We don't have the most useful data point, which is bracketed and redacted, but per the EC, Microsoft made the representation that they wouldn't make exclusives. The thing is, the EC didn't care. So back to the MLEX statement, I think the EU was answering the wrong question. Microsoft didn't breach anything because it didn't have a duty to follow through on its representations, and the EU didn't mandate any concessions because they didn't think foreclosure mattered. In short, I don't think the FTC lied, though it's a stretch to use a separate regulator's summary statements in the way they did, and one wonders why they didn't use their own. But I don't think the EU is lying either. It's not the strongest reason ever giving for discontinuing all statements made by the transactional party, but it's not completely without some foundation. So that was long-winded, but basically what is going on here is I think there is, like I agree with Hoeglaw, I think there is somewhat of an overreaction here by the FTC lying. I don't think they actually lied. I think that they may have stretched the truth a little bit. I think that they may have gone out there and not made the best faith comparison for what Microsoft said and then what they did. I mean, Microsoft never really said anything, but I can remember before this deal that they weren't going to make anything exclusive. Their main thing here was to keep the games, the legacy titles at least, on all of the platforms, and then future titles were case by case basis, something that I think Xbox and Microsoft should always do. I think that's what they should always do no matter what when it comes to all of these acquisitions. And when it comes to the fact that they're getting all these IPs, they should look at every single game on a case-by-case basis whenever a new title comes out. And at that time, when they're looking at that game, decide whether this is going to be an Xbox ecosystem exclusive or if this is going to be something that they want to put out on every single platform. I think that is the best way to go about it. And when it comes to the actual deal itself, we also have this claim here from Phil Spencer. And it says here, Phil Spencer claims PlayStation wants to grow by making Xbox smaller. So he was on the Second Request podcast where he was asked about Sony and who was one of the major opposers of this deal. And he says this: Sony's trying to protect its dominance on the console. The way they grow is by making Xbox smaller. So there's two things there. Definitely Sony's trying to protect their dominance. I mean, we are seeing Sony be the console maker right now between the two who are really trying to push back against anything changing within the industry. They want to keep that console exclusivity, that closed ecosystem. They want that to stay forever, or at least as long as possible. So when they see Xbox growing, when they see Game Pass growing, when they see Xbox allowing you to play first-party titles, no matter where you are, whatever device that you're on, you're going to be able to access those titles. Sony doesn't like that. You can see they do not like that. They do not want that. They do not want that to be the trend going forward in the game industry. So Spencer continues on here and says, Sony has a very different view of the industry than we do. They don't ship their games day and date on PC. They do not put their games into their subscription when they launch their games. And I mean, there you go. And honestly, I hadn't read that quote before, gave you my opinion, but me and Phil Spencer agree on that one. Phil continues on here and says, Sony is leading the dialogue around why the deal shouldn't go through to protect its dominant position on console. So the thing they grab onto is Call of Duty. And why would they grab onto Call of Duty? Well, because Call of Duty is their biggest money maker. They're Activision's biggest customer every year, paying them the most amount of money because they make the most amount of money off of it. And they are using that as a way to show, hey, look, Call of Duty is such an important game for the console market. If you don't have Call of Duty, you don't have a console. You're going to have to shut down. Talked about this multiple times. I don't think that's a great argument. Sony is not going to have to shut down, and they have everything right in front of them to be able to at the same level. Let's say if Call of Duty left their platform. Continues here saying the largest console maker in the world raising an objection about the one franchise that we've said will continue to ship on the platform, the deal that benefits customers through choice and access. And again, that's the main thing. They've already promised Call of Duty that is going to be on every other platform. It's even coming to Nintendo. I mean, which hasn't been on there since Call of Duty Ghosts on the Nintendo Wii U. And again, it's that choice of platform. This is one of the main things why I like Xbox right now with everything that they are doing. I can definitely criticize some of the things they've done recently. Again, the $70 price tag of their first party games. I don't think that they actually do that. I think it's just a way to now make that transition to try to make a bit more money because the industry has gone that way. And consumers have already okayed it. They've given the green lights to this $70 game. So Microsoft's sitting there and saying, well, why don't we do it? Because people are already buying these games. We might as well do it anyways. Where they didn't have to do that and they've lost that value proposition now. But when it comes to everything else Xbox has been doing, Game Pass, selection of where you want to play your games, just democratizing gaming so more people can access video games, it is still very, very good. And this deal, if it does go through, it is going to expand that even more because yes, they're going to have the biggest video game franchise that can be played everywhere, but they're going to be making so much money off of that franchise. They're going to be able to take that money and invest it more into that ecosystem and into Game Pass, giving more value to the customers out there. But is PlayStation specifically wanting to grow by making Xbox smaller? I don't know. But what I do know is that the PS4, Xbox One era, PlayStation was extremely happy that everything that went on that generation right from the launch, and they would love if it was still like that. They would continuously try to stomp down on Xbox if it was still like that and make sure that they couldn't get up. They just weren't aware that Xbox was going to try to get up, and they did. They're back stronger than ever. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with Phil Spencer here that Sony is just trying to make Xbox smaller? That's how they want to continue in this industry. That's how they want to continue to grow. And what do you think about the FTC stuff? Do you think that Xbox wrongly made claims to the EU about keeping things on every platform and then went back on their word? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you like to consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.